Michael Jordan on the all-time scoring list and 40 to pass his airness. LeBron averaging a triple-double since coming back from his groin injury 11 games ago. GA, the numbers can't be denied for LeBron James. You played against Michael Jordan. It seems fair. Now, after almost 16 full seasons for LeBron, where does LeBron's legacy stack up against Jordan's legacy?
Well, listen.
They're different players.
They're different players, and Michael is regarded as the best to ever play the game. I would argue you'd have to put Kareem in that conversation as well when you look at what he's accomplished. But LeBron James, in my mind, has clearly put himself on the Mount Rushmore of basketball in terms of his accomplishments, both collectively and individually. I mean, the numbers are staggering, and you know, those are two guys, and I've said this all along. Look, each guy's place within the game is secure, just like all the greats are. But it's more for me about just appreciating the journey. I mean, you go back and think about when this guy came in as the anointed one out of high school, and for him to have had the career he's had, I'd have to say he's probably overachieved. Because even when you say a guy's going to be the next great thing, you could not have ever imagined that he could have put forth the resume that he has in his time in the league. But for that injury, you know, we still might be raving about him. But those 16 games being out and how this team has played here down the stretch, there's a lot of doubt and concern right now in Lakerland.
Yeah, I think we forget about the expectation, Chris, is what LeBron had to play underneath. Kobe didn't have greatest of all time expectation. Michael Jordan didn't enter the league with anybody talking about him one day becoming the greatest player of all time. LeBron's the first guy I can remember who came into the league since probably Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with that kind of expectation that you're going to go out and have not only a long, fruitful career, but win championships and MVPs, you know, change the game. And I mean, you're right, GA, he has exceeded probably a lot of reasonable expectations for what he'd be able to do, especially coming out straight out of high school with no college and no other way to really vet his game other than getting out there on the court as a teenager and proving it from day one.
You say proving it from day one, and now we're in season 16, and there was never a drop-off for LeBron. There was never a season of doubt of how great he was or is at this point still.
No, there really has not been when you look at the totality of what he's done. Even coming to L.A. initially, you know, they got off to a little bit of a slow start, but somewhat you had to expect that. This was a young team that hadn't won much, and then you basically have to have everybody redefine their game playing alongside LeBron, and then eventually they got into a good rhythm prior to that injury. But I think from an offensive standpoint, you know, he hadn't shot it well from the free throw line or the three, but overall he's had a tremendous impact offensively. And that's really been the problem with this young team, and LeBron, for that matter. They only play one side of the ball, and that's one reason right now they're on the outside looking in terms of postseason.
Well, speaking of which, despite another incredible statistical season from LeBron James, the Lakers are falling out of the playoff picture and fading fast after losing to the Phoenix Suns on Saturday night. Lakers are full 4.5 games behind the Spurs and the LA Clippers right now out west. It's not over yet for the Lakers, but LeBron James certainly understands how far the Lakers have to go in this final month.
We can't keep looking at the standings. The standings are going to be what they are no matter what. No matter if you win or lose, you can't. I've never been one to kind of look at the standings. I mean, you've known me for a while. So you just got to go out and do your job and try to do it at a high level throughout 48 minutes and then see what happens at the end of that. So you can't focus on the standings because they shift and move so much throughout the course of the season. I'm not here to harp on, you know, the negativity or the negative. We had opportunities. Yeah, we could have played better here. We could have played better there. I mean, that's been throughout the whole season. You know, it's been throughout the whole season. But you know, right now, you know, it's a tough loss. It's a tough loss for us. It was a tough loss for us last night. We knew we had gave so much to that game last night. We had to kind of find our own energy. I actually felt a lot better than I thought I was going to feel once I got on the floor. But as a collective group, we didn't always have it. You know, a few of us had it at times, but it wasn't always a five-man collective, you know, group.
LeBron talking about playing on the second night of a back-to-back. But, GA, the Lakers were down by 18 at the start of the fourth quarter against the Suns, and their defense it was non-existent. How much of a factor was that in that game for the Lakers just not showing up on defense?
Listen, it's been the issue for them, in essence, since LeBron has come back. Defensively, this team has just been porous. I mean, it's like they're out there warming up to start practice. And you see they run this pick and roll late on the closeout. You got to run that guy off the three-point shot. LeBron doesn't get there in time. And that's really the theme of this team from a defensive standpoint all season. You know, they can score it. They haven't had a problem there, but just look at the lack of effort in transition defensively. Brandon Ingram, it's like he's stretching, getting ready to warm up in practice, doesn't get anywhere near the play. And it's not just him. Kuzma, LeBron, all these guys, the young guys and LeBron at this stage of his career, they've got to commit on that side of the ball. And that's why they struggle mightily, is that they're a group right now that only plays on the offensive end. They're giving up 122 points a game. They're 28th in defensive rating, defensive efficiency throughout the league. And so if that doesn't change, they not only have no chance this year, it's going to be hard for them to continue to improve when you want to play against these elite teams in that Western Conference.
It sounds like you say they're not going to make the playoffs. Sekou, where are you on that?
Look, the math is all against them right now. They got to go off and just play unbelievable basketball, you know, the next couple of weeks to even put themselves back in a decent position. I think you nailed it, though, GA. The defensive lapses for this team, and if you look at it, it's not just one guy. It's a collective effort that has vanished. It's just not there defensively, and it's cost them. It's funny. We talk about the Boston Celtics having some similar issues where they have the kind of personnel that should be able to play at a high level defensively, but if you're not committed to it mentally, they watch the film. They go back and watch the tape after every game. They have to see this. We see it plain as day. When are they going to see it and change their ways? And if they don't, we all know what comes next. You break this team up, you find a new coach, and everything else starts fresh this summer in L.A.
Find a new coach. Dennis Schroeder started in place of Paul George on Saturday. PG-13 sitting this one out as well. Memphis Grizzlies, OKC Thunder. Game you're going to see right here on NBA TV at 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Auto Trader pregame show. Chris Miles here with Greg Anthony, Sekou Smith. And again, the Thunder will play a third straight game without the services of their MVP candidate, Paul George, who has shoulder soreness. Sekou, how much does this team lose without PG on the court as far as what he brings to the table?
I think they lose the guy who gives them their balance. You know, as great as Russ has been and as much of a catalyst as he is for this team and always has been, Paul George was the guy who brought some equilibrium to this outfit this year, who really gave him an opportunity to balance out not just the floor, but the way they play. You know, you don't lean on Russ in the same way when Paul George is out there because you have somebody else who can play off of Russ, but also take over when need be. And without him, you've seen him struggle a little bit just in terms of having a guy to go to GA when you don't want to lean on Russell Westbrook all the time because, you know, the other team is, they know Russ has got the ball in his hands and is controlling things. Paul George was that left hook you didn't see coming.
I tell you the other thing, too, is he's really allowed Russell Westbrook to grow as a player from the standpoint of not feeling like he's got to go play hero ball. You know, first time I think in Russ's career where he was much more in defer mode. You look at his drives in the paint this year, he's passed it on 50% of those. That's by far the highest percentage of his career, and a lot of that is because of the trust and the chemistry he's developed with Paul George. And Paul George has been playing like a top 3 or 4 player in our league all season long. And Russ has been comfortable with him doing that. And it's really been important in a year where Westbrook has struggled from an efficiency standpoint. He's not shooting it well from 3, has a chance to shoot the lowest three-point percentage in the history of our league based on the amount of attempts he's at right now. Right now, he would break the record if the season ended today. So it's vital that they have Paul George out there with a young group where they don't have a lot of guys offensively that they can rely on. So when you don't have that 1-2 combination, it puts a lot of pressure on other guys to try to do more.
And we just saw Paul George on the court before the game looking like he's trying to get loose and get out there. Won't play tonight, but looks like he should be back soon. Let's take a look at the Thunder's upcoming schedule presented by Metro by T-Mobile. After Tuesday night, Thunder will face 6 straight teams who are currently in the playoffs. Certainly, they would like to have PG-13 back. He's currently listed as day-to-day. Following Saturday night's loss to the Spurs, Westbrook seemed adamant that missing Paul George is no excuse.
How does that change when Paul's not on the floor, when those teams pack the paint and you're getting guys wide open shots, but Paul's not out there?
I'm confused. What are you asking? Just ask the question you're asking.
How does the offense change when Paul's not on the floor, but teams are also packing the paint as well?
Next question.
How does the offense change when Paul's not on the floor?
A lot, obviously. MVP's not on the floor. He averaged 30 points a game. It changed the offense a lot. So you didn't answer that question. You just wanted to ask to get that answer.
What did the Spurs do against you defensively?
No, I asked you a question. Did you know the answer?
Oh, I didn't even hear the Jasmine. What was the question you asked me?
I said you knew the answer to that question, right?
Well, I think sometimes we ask questions, but we want to hear the answer from you,
But do
Russell.
you know the answer?
Well, I wanted to hear if you had any insight into that answer besides me just
No,
saying.
do you know the answer,
Paul's
yes
the
or no?
MVP of the question.
Did you know the answer?
What was the question again?
Good that's not you, Sekou.
I know
asking
that's
that
my man
question.
Eric Horn from the Oklahoma. And I like that he.
We had him on yesterday.
I like that he flipped it back on Russ though and asked, "What was the question again?"
But it's clear they're having issues shooting the ball without Paul George on the court. But Russell Westbrook is in the center of that, and he struggled shooting all season. Like you said, GA, when it comes to 300 or more attempts from three-point range in a season, no one has been as atrocious as Russell Westbrook. That's the word to describe it. Look,
That's a good
triple-double
word.
for a third straight year, but shooting from outside, this Allen Iverson and Antoine Walker.
Man, when I saw this stat,
Twice,
I was
2 times. Beneath 30% from three-point range in the season.
And GA, you tell me if I'm wrong, but you know what this reminds me of, though? This is when you have a flaw in your game early on in your career that you don't correct. And nobody ever really corrected the fact that Russ basically took these shots whenever he felt like it. When he's playing with Kevin Durant, James Harden early in his career, you transition and get new people around him. He doesn't have the same kind of shooters that he had early in his career, so it almost magnifies his shooting struggles now even more because of the personnel around him not being able to cover for that or to pick up the slack.
And I will say this, when we talk about shooting, we focus so much on whether or not the ball's going in. But your ability to shoot it well is not always about your ability to make shots. It's really more about your ability to take good shots. And you could go break down film after film with Russell, and a lot of the problem is shot quality, shot selection, rhythm with your shots. And so they don't have, especially with Paul George is out, he's not going to get quality rhythm looks. Most of the shots he's getting, he has to create, and he's got to create them as a focal point. So it's not an excuse because he's got to get better at it. He's at a point of his career where you got to know what a good shot is and what a bad shot is. And you got to understand, and your team's got to understand, guys, we got to get a better quality of shot. And that's really, if you start looking at one of the issues, you look at a team like Denver, you look at Golden State, it's their ability to take quality shots off of ball movement, off of great spacing, in rhythm, that allows them to shoot a higher percentage. And that's not the case right now for Russ in OKC.
You know who's good at finding good shot selection? How about Ish Smith of the Detroit Pistons? And I'm not talking about the shots that he